Skip, the main thing I've learned in my lifetime so far is it's never too late. I say that with a ...
That was the bold wisdom shared by Steffanie Peterson on episode 82 of the Main Thing podcast. In it, you got the short version, 9 minutes of her wisdom. That was the main thing, and today you'll get the whole thing. So stay with us for a deeper dive into the incredibly candid and entertaining conversation with this wise author, manager, and friend. Over the next 25 minutes, you will learn from Steffanie Peterson across some very valuable high-impact areas of wisdom, including moving to a new place, writing a book, finding the courage to make important decisions, how to trust your intuition, and leaning into your faith. Get ready for a lively look at her personal journey, including taking risks and making a bold, calculated leap. Steffanie shares her lessons for all of us to help us rediscover our hopes and dreams and how to live a life that's truly meaningful. This is the whole thing. Steffanie Peterson, welcome to the Main Thing podcast. It's so great to have you on the show.
Hey, Skip. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you're coming to us from the Big Apple, New York City.
The big cold apple. Winter has set upon us this week. It is freezing here.
Oh my gosh. Today we are recording on November 22nd. Steffanie, I want to remind you on November 9th, 2014, just 8 years ago, you made a bold decision and you took a big leap of faith and you moved yourself and your uber talented daughter, your teenage daughter at the time, and 3 cats to New York City. Hey, how are the cats doing, by the way?
They're doing great. I have this 18-year-old geriatric diabetic, now half deaf and half blind cat that literally we didn't even tell our landlord about because we were convinced she was going to die after we were here a month, and this cat is still alive.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
She's moved three times. I don't know how she's still with us, but she's still hanging on. So apparently she's a New York cat.
Yeah,
so
I guess so.
Everybody's good.
She's a survivor.
Everybody's good.
8 years ago, I remember this distinctly. You were living here in my town of Charleston, West Virginia at the time. And I just want to say I respected the heck out of your courage and your vision for doing this. And Steffanie, I've always wanted to ask you, how did you get to the point where you got right with it and you said, okay, this is a go, we're really doing this?
You know, it's funny you asked me that because I say this to people all the time. I don't think I thought about it long enough to get to a point where I say this is a go. And I think if I had really taken the time to think about what I was doing, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Okay.
Everything happens so fast. You know, my mom had been sick for a long time.
Right.
I think I always knew Hannah was going to land here, but there was never a moment where I could leave as long as my mom was alive because she just needed us. She needed Hannah. She needed me.
Sure.
And she passed away in June of 13. And we went to this open call thingy talent scout deal and they loved Hannah, of course, and they said, let's go to this showcase thingy. And I said, I'm poor. And they said, that's okay. We'll help you pay for it. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like a great idea. Let's go to Orlando on vacation. And, you know, we came back from that and everybody we met with said, you live in the wrong city. And I'm like, well, I know that, but how am I going to get to New York? And Hannah said, Mom, let's go. And I'm like, okay, let's go. And the next thing I knew, I'm like, okay, we're moving to New York. Like there wasn't this grand plan. We weren't going to move for a year. And then she said, let's go by Thanksgiving. It was July 4th. It was the day after
you're kidding.
It was the day after my 41st birthday.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, we'll never get there by Thanksgiving. And I threw my resume out there. And because we serve this giant big God, he said, great, I'm going to fly you up here and I'm going to give you 5 interviews in a month. And he did. And literally almost 4 months to the day of saying, hey, let's move to New York. We were moving into our first apartment.
Amazing.
So there was really never this big plan. There was not this laid out step by step. There was just like, oh, okay, that mountain's moved. So let's see if the next one moves. Okay, that works. So let's go on to the next one. And things just kept happening. And so we just kept on trucking until we moved here.
I love it.
I
love it. This story that we're dancing around the edges of, you can get the full thing in Steffanie's terrific book, The Hot Mess Express, The Peterson Girls' Adventures. We're going to talk more about the book, but when we're talking about that big leap. This show's about wisdom, and I just wanted to ask you this question to kind of frame it up. What's the difference between wisdom and a wild leap? Or maybe I should ask it this way: where do those two ideas overlap?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think wisdom came after the wild leap for me.
Okay.
And I do think that's a train of, if you want to say, a weave through my life.
All right.
I work for a really great guy who's a deep thinker, he really contemplates decisions.
One of those strategic types.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I see the goal and I'm like, all right, let's go. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And I don't think, and I have to say, and I think I said this in the book many times, there were so many ways this could have gone terribly bad.
Right.
This could have gone terribly wrong. But I think the wisdom in it for me comes after the fact of knowing that sometimes you just have to follow your gut.
There you go.
Sometimes
Yeah.
you just have to listen to that inner voice and take a chance.
That's
and
so
to me,
true.
that's wisdom for me,
Yeah.
is that sometimes you cannot second guess what you're feeling in your soul.
Yeah.
Because I think your soul and your heart lead you. And I think we do.
Yeah. Sometimes we can outthink it, overthink it.
Yeah.
Talk ourselves out of it. You're right. I love
Absolutely.
it. I love that. I just want you to know how much I admire that about you. Hi, it's Skip here. You've heard about our merchandise store for the Main Thing podcast, and I want to tell you about our bookshop. It's an online independent bookstore where you can find and order the books that were written, recommended, and discussed by guests of the Main Thing podcast. Just check the show notes for a link that'll take you to bookshop.org/shop/the main thing. Buy some books, support independent local booksellers, and support the guests of the Main Thing podcast. Steffanie, in your fabulous book, let's get into that now. I remember a line in there as we kind of segue from talking about taking a leap, that you talk about leaping off a cliff and hoping that your wings sprout on the way down. Did I get that kind of right?
Kind of right. I think that it was one of those things where I was just hoping that somewhere after I took the leap that they would grow, because there's just no other way to do it. Like you just pray that you're not going to go splat, because there was a million different ways that this could go very wrong if they didn't grow.
Yeah.
So
let me give our listeners a little flavor for the book. It is your story of how you took this leap and made the move to New York City, what prompted it, how it went when you got there, all the surprises, all the adventures. I was reading this book at night, like before bed, and I lost so much sleep, Steffanie, because your book was so entertaining, and I couldn't stop reading. And so here it's like looking at the clock, it's like, oh my gosh, it's 12:30. I need to get some sleep, but I got to read one more chapter.
Everybody said that. It made me so happy. People who call me and they're like, the other thing they said was, I can hear your voice. It's like I'm sitting across the table listening to you tell me this story. And it just made my heart swell with joy that that's kind of where people were. I had a lot of people who said they read it in one sitting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. If I didn't need to get some sleep, I definitely would have done it, because it's just that good. It's that entertaining. The stories are hilarious. And it leads me to this next...
And all true.
I don't doubt it.
All true. Every one of them.
Yeah. And I can totally hear your voice when I read. And I can... gifted storytellers draw us into the scene, and we can see the scene around us. We can see and hear the sounds. We can see the sights. We can smell the smells. And you do that with your writing. So I wanted to ask you, where do you get those gifts of your fabulous storytelling and your humor?
I have no idea. I've always been in the creative world, which I think is, I think Hannah got a creativity in a different way than I did. She got it in the sense of the singing and the acting and all that kind of stuff. My mom actually was funny, because she used to say to me, when I would send her emails, she said, I just love to read your emails. She goes, I sometimes go back and read them 2 or 3 times. She goes, they're just so well written. And oddly enough, I have had a patient or two in my life say to me, I love to read your emails. Can you just keep writing back to me? So I just think it's something I was born with. I love to write. I love to sit and type. And, but I also love to talk. I love to communicate with people. I love to engage. I love the energy of bouncing off of people. I think it's magical and it's inspiring and it's heartwarming. And so, but I remember in college very distinctly, I have a couple of girlfriends who never, in the age before texting,
Yes.
When we had to email people, I can remember writing some pretty instinctive Dear John letters to tell for these girls to break up with their boyfriends.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Pretty colorful.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's just something, I think everybody says they're born with some intrinsic gift, and I think this is just mine. It just took me a really long time to figure out that it was something that I should be sharing, or, something I wanted to do on a bigger, broader, more formalized level, I guess, if you will.
Sure. Well, that's awesome. We share that love of people and interacting, and we get energized by interacting with other people. We have that in common. I want to just stop for a moment. There's a bit of housekeeping that we do on every episode. Our listeners are party to this conversation, and they're going, who are these people? How do they know each other? So let's talk about how we got connected. Do you feel like starting that story?
Gosh, I do. And I feel like it's funny because I want to say River Ridge Church, but then I have to remember it goes way beyond that.
Yeah.
We met many, many years before that at St. Timothy.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Our girls grew up together. I worked for your sister and brother-in-law, Patricia and J.K. Lilly.
You did.
I feel like I've woven in and out of the Sherman family for as long as I can remember. And, the Linebergs have just kind of been a fabric of, my existence. Lisa and I have been in Bible studies together over the years.
My baby girl
you guys have just always been there.
My daughter just turned 21. So, I think we've known each other at least 20 years.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. So
church,
a long time.
Jobs, the community. It's been a great relationship of having our daughters grow up together. And so that's how we know each other.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I wanted to just remind folks of the book that we're talking about, and you'll find a link to it in our show notes. It's The Hot Mess Express, The Peterson Girls' Adventures. Look for it. Click the link in our show notes from our bookshop. Pick up a copy. You will absolutely love it. You'll probably want to get an extra copy to give as a gift. It is that good.
Thank you so much. I love it. It was such a fun experience to write. It was so much more fun than I ever would have anticipated it to be. I laughed at myself. I cried. I called people on the phone and said, can I just read this to you? Because I think it sounds totally dumb, and I think no one's going to love it. I think people are going to think I'm an idiot, and people were so welcoming, and friends were like, call me anytime. And it was an adventure. The first adventure was living it, but I have to say writing it might have been just as much of a grand adventure as living it was.
Well, we're gonna move away from the book, I promise, but I did want to talk about it because it's just that good, and in addition to it being hilarious, but you'll find lessons in there about budgeting, how to do more with less, how to get around the New York City Mass Transit Authority train system, how to seek wise counsel for important decisions. There's just a lot in there. So thank you for writing such a great book. Let's be honest, it's not easy to ask for help or talk about money. Hey, it's Skip here, and many listeners like you continue to ask me, what do you need to continue to develop and build this show? Well, for context, it takes our team about 15 hours of work to produce each one of these packages of wisdom that we deliver to you in podcast form. Really, what we need as we enter season 3 of this show is funding to cover our costs. So in response, I formed a site on the Patreon platform where you can elect to become a supporting patron of the Main Thing podcast. Now, there are 3 levels you might consider, ranging from $6 to $27 per month. It's all safe and secure, and you can explore the options at patreon.com/themainthingpodcast. Now, how will we use the funding? Funds provided by you and other patrons will be used to defray the costs of production, promotion, and our recurring technology expenses each month. In short, you will be helping to keep this pipeline of wisdom flowing. Thanks.
it's never too late. I say that with a ... because the answer is endless. Yeah. It's never too late to change jobs. It's never too late to pick up your life and move to a new city. It's never too late to get married or have a child or write a book or whatever. This week alone, I don't know if you guys are Today Show fans, but a woman, a 96-year-old woman, won a Latin Grammy.
Oh my gosh.
96 years old.
Oh, I missed that. Wow. That's remarkable.
If that isn't proof positive, if that isn't proof positive, like if anyone had told me at 41 years old I was going to sell practically everything I owned, including my car. Yeah. Basically halfway liquidate everything. I mean, I liquidated half my 401k. All of them. Yeah. No, a lot. I'm ashamed to say. I've built that shoe collection back up, by the way, because things are, in a lot of ways, things are cheaper in New York, believe it or not, if you know where to shop. So I've built that shoe collection back up. Anyway.
It's never too late.
At 41 years old, it's never too late. Who sells everything they own and moves to a city 11 hours away and doesn't know a single soul? Like, who does that at 41?
Not many, but a bold, courageous friend of mine did.
Yeah. I mean... And so it's never too late. And I didn't realize, if you'd asked me what the main thing was that I've learned 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been the same thing. I don't even know if I could have, I don't even know if I could have told you something pivotal that 5 years ago. Yeah. Now I'm adamant that I know what the main thing is. There's no question. No question.
So cool. I mean, it clarified and crystallized for you.
100%, without a doubt.
Was it this life experience of making this move that kind of revealed that to you?
Absolutely.
Was there is there a turning point? Was there a day or a moment or a scene that you can remember where you're like, this was right and it's never too late? Do you remember a scene where that, like, you're like, this is my main thing. This is wisdom that I need to never forget?
I think there were many points, be honest with you, because one of the things that I hope that it's evident in the book is that this has been a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. There have been as many downs as there are ups. Mm-hmm. Hannah Jane is in a difficult business. Hannah Jane is in a business where for every yes, there's 500 no's.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, luckily we're in a position, I'm in a position today to share this. I wasn't in a position, 3 days ago, but I mean, she was just cast in her first major, like, big deal role. She just was cast in Jersey Boys. So she started rehearsals on Monday.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. So she's super excited. She's playing Frankie Valli's daughter, and it's a part, like, we've waited on this role for 8 years. Yeah. So that's a yes, this was the right answer.
For sure.
My first job was awful. The whole first year we lived here, I cried every night. And I'm like, what did I do? God, did I do the right thing? I asked God every single night. What if I have to go back home? It's not just me. I took my kid, my 13-year-old kid.
And those cats.
I have to take her back home. And those poor cats. We have nothing. And, year 2, I met this really great doctor who I've been with for 7 years. And my whole career took a turn. So that's a definitive, this was right. So I wish I could say there was a moment that it was, yes, this is it. But because God's really good, there's constantly moments now where I'm like, yes, this was it. When Hannah got into the #1 performing arts high school in the city, when she took one of 12 chairs and thousands of kids auditioned, that's a definitive yes. When we landed in our first 900 square foot apartment during COVID it's huge. We never thought we'd live in an apartment that big. That's a definitive yes. Like, there's just been many moments where it's not just one yes. It's like yes after yes after yes, where we're like, this is it. Yeah, this is it. Yes, this is it. So it's been lots of yeses for us.
Steffanie, your main thing, it's never too late. I love that. Give me think through for me. Let's paint a picture together of someone who has not yet realized that wisdom truth. What might their feel like on the inside?
Oh gosh.
Maybe they feel Useless? Hopeless?
Yep. I felt unsettled.
Oh.
I felt
there we go.
very disconnected.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't see the end. I didn't know where the road went.
Uh-huh.
There wasn't like a path. Like I never really figured out where I fit.
Yeah.
I didn't know where I belonged.
Yeah.
And that's me. That's not even that's not even Hannah Jane. That's just me. And I think that somebody who hasn't taken that leap yet, and they know. I really truly believe. I knew in my heart. I just kind of buried it. I just kept saying, "Go away. I don't want to hear that. Just go somewhere else because I'm not interested in making a life change. That's too much for me. I don't have the courage. I don't have the money. I don't have the connections. I can't do this on my own.
Yeah.
I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
How could I possibly do this alone?"
Mm-hmm.
All of those things went through my head. And I know there are people out there saying all those things and more.
Sure.
You have to trust what's in your voice. There's a little voice in your head that is saying those things to you.
Yeah.
And you have to let that little voice be louder than all those big voices telling you can't. And I know there are people out there feeling those things.
I love that. And I'm not going to add a word to it. That was just so beautiful and so well said. Steffanie, I want to ask you as we wrap up this conversation, because it's a short show and you've got a salon appointment that we don't want to mess up.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Hey, so here's the final question. What's ahead for you? Not for Hannah Jane. We know what she's going to be doing, and we're going to be cheering for her like we are and watching for her. But for you, what's ahead? Is there another book planned, and what do you got cooking?
Yes, there is. Actually, I am working on book number 2.
Wow.
Yep. I would say I'm about a quarter of the way through it. This one's a little harder. I've struggled a little bit more writing this one. It's called The Hot Mess Express, The Peterson Girls' Adventures, subtitle Flying Solo.
Okay.
And so this one is a little bit more about the separation that's happened over the last couple of years as high school has ended. It is really about all of the firsts or the lasts. There's a chapter about the last audition I got to go to with her because I don't need to go anymore because she's a big girl.
Oh.
It's about, the first job that she got to go to without me. It's just all of the things that she is starting to do that I don't get to do. It's the first time she went to the agent's office and signed her own contract.
Oh my gosh.
And I was at work. I signed 3 of them. I didn't get to sign the 4th one. So it's all of those moments in time where I am learning that she's flying. Mm-hmm. And then there's the moments of me. Mm-hmm. I am in a great position in a great job that I love very much. My boss is actually from Ohio, and we always laugh that who in the world would have thought that a dude from Ohio and a hillbilly from West Virginia would have ended up on Fifth Avenue in a gorgeous office. We've just built an operating room, so we're opening a surgery center. So that's brightly in front of me. And I will say this. I do want to leave people with this little tidbit of wisdom. I came here for Hannah Jane. Every fiber of my being made this move for that kid.
Yeah.
But what God delivered was dreams for me, 2 big dreams, this book and this career that I didn't ask for, that I didn't expect, that I never saw coming.
Extra favor.
And so extra favor, and I am so grateful for it that I know there are things in front of me that I don't even know are coming. Mm-hmm. And I am uber excited for what he's got planned. But this book it's challenging and it's fun, and I'm hoping it'll be a little more melancholy. I think it'll be a little bit more emotional, but I'm also hoping that it will intentionally maybe dig deeper and help somebody else that's kind of in my space. Maybe not a dreamer, maybe just a single mom or a single dad or a set of parents who are trying to figure out how to navigate life in the empty nest. So I know that's what's next.
Perfect. I know they'll take inspiration from it. Steffanie, thank you for this wonderful wisdom conversation. By the way, your faith is really showing, and I just really appreciate your time, your boldness, your faith. in your main thing wisdom. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Skip. I appreciate it. It's been awesome. You're amazing.
So long for now.
Take care.
Wow, that goes by incredibly fast, doesn't it? Time flies when you're hacking wisdom. I hope you're left wanting more. Sync up with us again next time on The Main Thing for 9 more minutes of wisdom.